Welcome back. It's Lach and Raph here. As you guys know, we are on a mission to dramatically improve the health and fitness of Australia's business executives and leaders, which is why today we're going to be talking about weights versus cardio. Now, let's just obviously get out in the open. We're gonna need both, but we're gonna break them down. You know, what is more important, weights or cardio? Do we need both? Yes. The unique benefits of weights and the unique benefits of cardio, but we'll actually talk about a scenario where if you could only pick one or the other, which one we would actually choose. So let's get into it. So we're going to use the context of this episode of like longevity and like, you know, living a good, healthy life. That's kind of the overarching thing. It's not what's the best thing to compete in a bodybuilding contest. What's the best thing to, you know, compete as a professional athlete. It's what's the best thing to live a great life, to, you know, be able to ski down a mountain in your 80s and to still carry luggage, heavy luggage with you and put it up in the overhead bins when you're in your 70s and, you know, be fully capable and independent in your old age. So with that context, weight training is more important, right? That's because the greatest, the top indicators of longevity are the following: grip strength, muscle mass, leg strength, and VO2 max. So weight training affects three of those, and cardio only affects one of them. So grip strength, muscle mass, and leg strength, you don't really get that from swimming and running. You get that from training weight. So if you're talking about longevity, these are our markers, our indicators. 3 out of the 4 are affected by weight training only. Obviously, VO2 max is cardio. That's why we still need cardio. So in order to live a great life, we do want to have both, but we want to prioritize weight training. So if it's like, hey, you've got 4 sessions to get done in a week, you know, you would ideally you would mix cardio in with all of them. But if you were just going weights or cardio, you'd do like 3 weights and 1 cardio. It's kind of like how you would do it. You wouldn't go 3 cardio, 1 weights, for example. That's kind of how we like to split it up. Now, the benefits of weight training, a few things here. So 1, it's infinitely scalable, right? That means, you know, if you can't do a bench press, there are basically an infinite, it depends how creative you want to get, infinite amount of ways to train the same thing, right? So you're trying to increase pushing weight off your chest, like increasing triceps, shoulders, chest strength, building muscle in those areas. I mean, push-ups, ring dips, dumbbell press, dumbbell flies, cable press, machine press, barbell press, like every press under the sun, right? If you can't do one, you can switch for this. If it's too heavy, you can take the weight down. If you've got a slight injury here, you can change your grip. There's just basically never an excuse to not train weights. Now, if you were to say like cardio, for example, hey, I want to get fitter, you've just got far more limited modalities. If you have an ankle injury, it's pretty hard to run and cycle. It's like now you're pretty limited with how you can get fit. You can go for a swim, you can do some skio. Even that's like pretty fatiguing for a lot of people. There's just far fewer options to get fit.
Like, you know, if you're in an old folks home, you generally get them doing resistance training.
Yeah,
you're doing not cardio.
Yeah, so cardio is obviously really important, but it's just not as scalable as weight training, which is why we love weight training. Weight training, the only thing you can do to increase bone density is weight training. And as you age, as osteoporosis starts to set in, which is, you know, you losing bone mass, weight training is the only thing that makes your bones more dense. The force of heavy weights pulling on your tendons and pulling on your ligaments and your muscles, that creates small microfractures in the bone. And then as the bone heals and remodels, it gets more dense. So for example, when Raph and I get our body composition scans, like we get at Locker Room, all new clients get it, is they get their bone density. Anyone that's carrying a good amount of muscle mass, anyone that's been training weights consistently, always see their bone density higher than the normal range, which is where you want it. And that's like great for your longevity, right? It's great for falling over. It's great for feeling strong. I mean, I guess I've always had dense bones since I can remember, since we've been training. So I don't know what life is like without dense bones, but you do have people say anecdotally, like once they're weight training consistently and like quote unquote, their bones are getting more dense, I just feel better. I feel stronger. I feel safer. I feel more independent.
And you're less likely to actually have breaks and fractures.
Yeah.
That's like a huge one, right? You might have a fall. You're like, oh, I got a really bad bruise. In another world where you had less muscle and bone density, that would have been a break, right? That would have been a cast. It's a big difference.
And it's, as people think about it as a fall, sometimes it's not even a fall. Sometimes it's like I just picked up the ball to play some footy and like I did a step and I fractured my ankle because your bones are so weak. Or like I was, something was falling off a shelf and it was kind of heavy and I put my arm up to put it back on the shelf and I broke my wrist, So yeah, there are many ways that you can fracture a bone. It's not just falling over.
And it's incredibly reliable. Like I know when I was doing a lot of weights, I remember getting my scan done and my bone density was like really, really high from just loading, heavier weights, kind of the better here, right? Like low weights, not going to do much for your bone density. The heavier you go, the more it's going to do.
Yeah.
And then when I had some time off lifting heavy weights, like my bone density went down, got back into it, bone density went back up. So this is extremely reliable.
Yeah. More benefits of weight training, obviously building muscle. Everyone knows that. It's really good for mobility and injury prevention. So like a lot of people think of mobility and flexibility as stretching, static stretching, but weight training, loading through a fuller range of motion is going to increase your mobility and your flexibility over time. That in turn will help prevent injuries. As you're stronger and more dense bones, you're going to get injured less. And then obviously builds and maintains strength, right? As you age, strength is a really important thing. Picking up, throwing kids, playing sports with them, traveling, carrying suitcases, moving furniture around, all sorts of things like that you want to be strong for, right? Weight training is the only thing that's going to get you strong for those activities.
Yeah, man, like I still think weights training or just resistance training is underrated. Like it is unbelievably good for people. Like there's nothing makes you look better. I mean, people that compete in bodybuilding just to try and look as good as possible, they just do weights all the time.
Yeah.
Right? That's all they're doing is weights. They're going cycling, they're doing other stuff. They're doing weights. They do some cardio, obviously, but they are experts in the gym. All they think about is like, what I'm going to be doing in the gym. What machine am I going to be doing in the gym, right? It is the ticket to looking better. And then when you go to an injury, like you go to a physio, what do? They just do like lightweight resistance training because it is the key to coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
It is, and it's so good for your health. It is like, I still think unbelievable how most people don't do any weights training. If you just think most Australians, most still don't do any.
Yeah.
I still think that is unbelievable. I even think probably just most executives that know what they're doing with their life most don't do weights training.
Yeah.
And I suppose for a host of reasons, people are uncomfortable. They don't know how to do it. Kind of feels weird, difficult. You don't know if you're doing it right. You could get injured, but you got to get over those things because it is so good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And now obviously we've got to finish on some of the benefits of cardio. Now cardio does increase your daily capacity, which could include walking. It could include like productivity. It could be just like your ability to train more as well. As you get fitter, you can actually recover faster between sets and do more weights. So it does have the benefit there of increasing your ability to train weights, which is also a good thing. And then it's just obviously really good for cardiac health, your heart health, right? So it's great for resting heart rate, lowers your resting heart rate, which is good for your long-term health and obviously your blood pressure as well. So, and then when you train hard cardio, it's going to increase your VO2 max. So cardio has benefits that weight training can't do, which is why we need it. It's just going to get more benefits from weight training, which is why we prioritize weight training and then we have cardio alongside of it. So yeah, the combination of the both is essential. You definitely want to be doing both.
I'd say one we didn't mention as well is also, which I think gets pushed over by particularly executives, is how long it takes. Weight training can be done very quickly.
Much more efficient.
It can be actually rushed. I actually think you can't rush cardio because if you rush cardio, you're going harder and then it's like your heart rate's at a different zone. There's a different adaptation. You can't rush, 60 minutes of zone 2. It's always 60 minutes.
Yeah.
But weights, you can actually rush. Like you can do a lot of weights in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
You could do 3 20-minute sessions a week and genuinely get benefit. We recommend 40, but like you can do 20. You cut the chit chat, you really get after it. You can do a lot in 60 minutes in a week. Whereas, you compare that to cycling, it doesn't deliver the same benefit per second of training. It's so unbelievably beneficial per how much time you put into it.
Absolutely. So there it is. Weights versus cardio. We need both. They're both important, but we want to prioritize weight training for our longevity and our quality of life. But as always, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode and we'll speak to you all next week. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you want to get the information in this episode and more, you can download the 30-day health optimization blueprint, which is all the tools and tactics that we use with our clients every day for 30 days. We'll deliver you an email in your inbox. Just head to lockerroomgym.com/blueprint to get the emails. That's lockerroomgym.com/blueprint.